Alrighty then, it's time for one of my guilty pleasures, Jungle Nasus. Which one? Thing is, I haven't really been playing him in a long time, or at all, mostly, which too because his natural predators have sort of started coming back. You know, Jaina, and I guess now Sona, Elise, and that kind of stuff, and then Kindred. Dear God, Kindred is just Nasus' worst nightmare, even in top lane. So, I just haven't had a reason to pick him. I mean, he hasn't been really strong for a long time in the jungle, but I still would sometimes, you know, just pop him up here and there. Anyways, you can see Blitzcrank DC'd, Kale DC for a couple seconds, and then my mid laner is going to DC, so we're kind of battling connection issues right now. Well, whatever. Runes and masteries are the same as always. Attack damage red, attack damage quints, although you could take armor pen somewhere around there. Armor yellow and cooldown reduction blues. My masteries are 12, 0, 18, although I have seen some people go 12, 18, 0 or 0, 18, 12. Mostly trying to maximize the shit out of the cooldown on Nasus just to farm up your Q like crazy. Either way, I'm taking the tanky route. Anyways, Elise went to gank Maokai, and instead I asked him, hey, let's squeeze her in. They can't deal with us both together, so Elise easily dies. I chase after Kale. And I get a little bit greedy, and I think maybe I would have survived if I hadn't, you know, gone that direction. If I had just sort of backed away, shot my E, killed her with E, and then just sort of walked away by the rim of it. But no, I completely went full stupid there and died. Still, though, I got a kill out of it, so it's not the worst thing possible, right? And also, hilariously, at least got the kill, I think, not the KO. Anyhow, so as you can see right now, my mid laner is completely DC'd, but fortunately for me, or at least he DC'd for like a couple seconds, but still, that allowed me to take the mid lane and just farm up a little bit. Either way, Jungle Nasus, his strengths and weaknesses are very obvious. His biggest strength slash weakness is infinite scaling. It's a weakness because it slows his jungle down, quite considerably actually. And his other bigger weakness is being exploited in this game. I actually first picked Nasus, and the enemy team took such a Nasus unfriendly team composition, it just made me feel really sad. Also, watch this, I love this. Elise just must be feeling so much goddamn rage for that. I love it. Anyways, Nasus, he can get very big, he's very efficient, he's actually pretty good at clearing and very good at farming the jungle. It's just, you don't really kind of farm the jungle forever kind of thing. So after a certain point, if you're ever dragged out of the jungle, your stacks are obviously going to get a lot weaker. But of course, though, his more underrated aspect about him, at least jungle-wise, is his ultimate is actually insanely overpowered for an ability on a jungler. Tons and tons of value on him. If you guys don't remember, Jungle Nasus a long time ago was the de facto most powerful jungler in the game. And arguably, by many people, was probably the most dominant jungler ever. In terms of just straight out power. He may not have been like, you know, someone that was brutal like Lee Sin or Jarvan, that kind of stuff, but Nasus was just so goddamn good as a jungler. He encompassed basically everything you would want in a jungler, and he would surpass everyone by miles. There was no reason not to include a Nasus. There's no composition he didn't crush at a time or something. And it was mostly because his Wither was insanely powerful and had a lot more range. And he also had a bit more range, I guess, when he ulted. So kiting him was a lot more difficult, and his Wither just absolutely wrecked anyone he tagged. And his E shred a lot more armor, I believe, as well. So he just had so much inherent value in his kit. And that's only talking about the stuff he puts on others. His ultimate and his Q just becoming a lot stronger was insane for a jungler. So yeah, he was just so damn good, and Riot proceeded to nerf the living shit out of him. By the way, watch this. I love how I deal with the Anivia. I know she's going to try to stun me, so I just kind of walk away from her, just try to bait out her Q, and I'm just running around like a madman trying to make sure she screws up her wall. And she did. I think she was panicking at that point because she didn't manage to stun me, and I was all up in her face. Either way, as you can see, my team is getting quite a good amount of farm. We're controlling the map. Right now we're pushing to the top tower. And a lot of this is honestly because the enemy team is not playing to their strengths. The enemy team needs to not be aggressive in the laning phase. They should have sort of gotten their levels, gotten their items, and then grouped up and gone for objectives. My team would get absolutely butt wrecked if we fought in a straight out fight. I would get kited, Blitzcrank would get kited, the Veigar could get sniped by the Elise or somebody, the KO would nullify a bunch of things with the ultimate. But they're getting into a lot of these really let's see, ambitious fights that have no real purpose. In this one, they were going for the Vhagar and the Maokai, but they focused the Maokai a little too much. Of course, the Vhagar did create distance, but they changed their target to the Maokai. They took such a damn beating, it should sort of give you an idea of how the team fights might be going. Anyways, of course, I'm just here waiting for the Ashe to go for the dragon, and just patiently waiting, and poor Ashe, he didn't see that coming, and of course she died real quickly. Of course, I go back to what I was saying. Oh, here, by the way, we just catch the Elise. It's that sort of kind of situation here that they really need to respect the amount of CC, or at least the amount of tagging with our crowd control that we can do. Vhagar can tag them, I can tag them with a Wither. If any of us tag them, we can easily blow them up or something. By the way, going back to what I said, the enemy team could lock us down. They could nullify a lot of the things we do, kite us to death, and then kill whoever of my team can do some damage. Like, look at my team. We're not really that damage heavy. We're kind of super sustaining, right? And Vhagar is about our only real burst we have. I could possibly kill them if I get on top of them, but look at the team count. They should be able to kite me. But again, they're kind of scattered. Here there's only 3 of them. We tag the Sona, and we force her ultimate to come out. In comes the Elise, and then Kael's going to come through the bushes. But they're not in any position to truly fight this. They only get anything off board because Vhagar got a little too greedy and killed the Anivia for it. But as a result, the enemy team, in the response to try to kill him, or killing him, they pushed themselves way too in front of me, and I was just able to run on train on them. So, sort of take this as a lesson. Just because you have a good team composition doesn't necessarily, or a good counter to something doesn't necessarily mean anything if you don't know how to utilize it. Again, the enemy team needs to kite me, needs to cut the Blitzcrank, keep our CC at bay, because they have no tank, okay? They need to make the most use of Kael's ultimate to protect whoever might get bursted down by Vhagar, and Anivia alone could probably shut my entire team down. Basically, they have the means of keeping us at bay, but they have to be together and they have to be coordinated. And they're not. This is also a 5v5 pre-made, so they really don't have an excuse for not doing that. My team got countered on so many fronts, yet they just seemingly aren't taking advantage of that. So right now we're sort of dominating the map. We're catching people off guard because once again they're sort of split pushing and whatnot. And they're going for very inadvantageous targets. Here they focus me down, but I'm pretty damn heavy to take down quickly enough. So it takes them a while. I actually dealt a shitload of damage, and they did kill me, but it's going to cost them two of their characters, or 2 of their players. And one of their characters barely scampered off with their life, and they also burned several summoner spells and basically burned too many resources. Essentially, you know what's pretty funny about the whole thing? Is that my composition, my team doesn't really need any strategy. It's basically grab somebody and bulldoze through. Just try to get someone in melee range to kill one of them, and then that's it. That's my team's entire strategy at play right now. Of course, the only real way we can lose is if any of our frontliners gets caught off guard and killed, because the enemy team will get their cooldowns back and then they'll easily pick up the rest of us. Because outside of me and Maokai, and I guess partially the Blitzcrank, we're pretty easy to kill, or we don't do enough damage to kill them fast enough despite them not having a tank. Or at least it's easier to control just 4 people, right? Anyways, we catch the Kael off guard again, sort of chase her down and murder her. And again, that's the repeated issue with the enemy team. They're sort of fighting fights improperly. Here they blow so much on the Maokai, and surprisingly, he doesn't die. They changed their focus target to me, but if they had just a few more abilities, they would have been able to kill me. Instead, though, they get caught off guard by the flanking Blitzcrank and the Vhagar, and they get blown the fuck up. So that would have been the worst kind of loss, but then surprisingly the Elise deals a shitload of damage. She kills me in 1 Q and then kills the Ezreal and then scampers off. If the Blitzcrank had used the exhaust a little bit earlier, it might have been better, but yeah. Anyhow, as you can see, their team composition could have dealt with us, but they're sort of falling apart. Right now they went for Baron, seeing as the Elise got 2 really good kills on us. And the Maokai and the Blitzcrank sort of threw their lives away because the Baron wasn't anywhere near dead. Still, though, at the very least, it prevented them from continuing on it, so it's a little wishy-washy whether or not it was worth it. Then here, I thought I could take her, and I thought she was alone, but it turns out she's got Kael coming next to her. But you can see, I'm dealing a shitload of damage. They should have been trying to end the shit out of this game a lot earlier, but it's basically a ticking time bomb that's ready to go off. You can already see the Veigar can pretty much one-shot anybody on the enemy team, or two-shot in most cases. And I can probably just beat them to death in like 2 seconds. So it's the reckoning is coming for them, and they need to prepare for that. Their only hope right now is to kill me off before the whole thing happens, because controlling the rest of them should be a lot easier. And at the very least, also make sure Veigar doesn't kill somebody. But as you can see, their problem continues to be that they split up. Kayle was top lane, 2 of them were mid lane, and it makes this little scene here easy. Remember what I told you about tagging? Yeah, I just literally walk up to the Sona and tag her with my Wither, then Blitzcrank pulls her in. She burns her ultimate, but it was just kind of a panic ultimate to survive. It gets her killed. But now it's a 4v5, and Anivia is still split up. Watch this too, though. Elise and Kayle are heading down river, and Ashe is above us. We see her, and we immediately just turn on her, and she's in such a bad position she dies for basically free. Basically, my teammates burn too much for her, and then Elise and the Kayle try fighting anyways, and of course, and Anivia finally shows up. But it's a brutal massacre. They're fighting us in a situation which we would have the incredible definite advantage, and they get beaten to death. That was such a terrible fight for the enemy team. Again, they were so split up, and their team composition needs to make sure they're not. Also, the Sona was taunting me under the tower, and she forgot. I'm Nasus. I don't give a shit about no towers. So again, I'm emphasizing, just if you have the perfect team composition or the perfect counter to deal with something, it doesn't matter unless you actually know how to employ that, or deploy that, or whatever the word's supposed to be for that. It's a very grim situation for the enemy team. At this point, I don't think they have any chance of surviving or winning unless somehow the Veigar gets sniped. I mean, they could kill me prior, but now the Veigar, again, will literally one-shot anybody with one ultimate and then probably kill somebody else. Once again, I tag the Anivia, Blitzcrank comes in and gets ready to pull her and forces her to flash out. It's too easy for us at this point. Then once again, they focus on the Maokai, the one character they probably shouldn't be focusing on. And then watch this. I go for the Ashe, blow everything, but it's Veigar one ultimate. Just his ultimate kind of nullified my ultimate and my ghost, because I thought I'd have to beat her to death. But no, Veigar at this point can one-shot her. So the game, as you can see, is basically over. We're just making the final push here. And they are going to kill us, or kill a couple of us, because we get a little too greedy and tank too many tower shots, tank Deep Lizard and whatnot, but the game is basically over. The enemy team got a little too they kept spreading out, they kept pushing different lanes, they didn't use the advantages of their team composition to their fullest. They needed to kite us, they needed to work together, but they just pretty much didn't. So as a result, you can see two members of my team, me and the Veigar, got too huge for them to handle, and we can just pretty much obliterate them in any team fight. Our whole strategy was just to bulldoze them. No intelligence required. Just run in there and kill everybody. And it worked out, because theirs did not. So hooray for Nasus and hooray for Veigar. This channel is supported by my sponsors, Crunchyroll and Loot Crate. Check out the description below for links to the websites. Signing up for any trials, including Crunchyroll's free anime trial, greatly supports my channel. Also remember to give the video a like to support the channel, and subscribe if you haven't yet. I've also made a Patreon now, and if you wish to support me through that medium, then I welcome it.